name's Nick from NAH or NAR Guitars, and today I'm going to start to design a new guitar which is going to be based upon a Fender Telecaster shape. So this is a template that I made some time ago, which is the template for something similar to a thin line hollowed out Telecaster. Obviously you can see the shape is Telecaster shaped, and then there are cutouts which are used to hollow out material from the body to make it lighter, and of course we've got cutouts for standard sized pickups for a Telecaster. Now, one of the things that I don't quite like about Telecasters is the area around the neck, where the neck joins onto the body. So this is sort of the standard shape, which is squared off, and the reason it's squared off is so that when a neck, so this is a template for my template for a Fender style neck with 21 frets. So this area around the pocket is squared off at the back to give enough area so that when it's bolted on, it's nice and secure. The problem with that is that when you play it, it feels slightly awkward and it's a little difficult to get up here. Now, some people don't mind that, some people like it. They like the traditional style, but I find it irritating. So one of the things you can do about that is to modify the template. This is one of the things that I have done in the past. And instead of having a squared off end to the body, it's rounded off. And then you can do things at the back as well to try to improve access to the higher frets. So it makes it slightly more elegant perhaps, but it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Now, if you take a different style of guitar, and this is a template from a guitar style that I make, which is called a beast style. In this case, this area here has been rounded off much more. The difficulty with this, though, is that this can only really work if you have a set neck. So with these guitars, what I tend to do is to use a 25-inch scale for the neck. That's similar to a PRS scale, well, it's the same as a PRS scale. And then the neck can be set inside, so the neck sits like that, and the pickup is positioned over this area that is set inside. So by doing that, you still get a large enough area to glue the neck in firmly. So of course now it's got to be glued in rather than bolted in. But it does mean that you can clear more of the area away from here and get better access up to the higher frets. So what I was thinking of doing with this build was to take my original template and maybe modify it to get rid of some of this, and instead of having a bolt-on neck, I'm going to try and put a set neck on. And what I will probably also do is use this PRS or 25-inch scale instead of the standard Fender scale, which I think is 25.5 inches. And there are a number of reasons for doing that. One is that I really like this 25-inch scale, which of course is somewhere between the Gibson scale and the Fender scale. One of the reasons I like it, and I don't know if there is any real substance to this, but this is the sort of the story behind it. But a lot of people, when they play Fender Stratocasters, they like to tune down by half a step or a semitone. And they say that the tone is better because the tension of the strings is not so high. Now, by going for a slightly shorter scale length, that will in effect change the tension on the strings and perhaps allow for a better tone. So I'm going to make this guitar, I'm going to modify this template to get rid of some of this area here, make it more streamlined, and then put in a 25-inch scale, set neck, and of course I'm going to have to route out around this area to put a pickup over the top. I'm also probably not going to use this standard bridge Telecaster pickup. I really like this pickup, actually. It sounds very nice. I really like the combination of a sort of a sweet pickup in the neck and this sort of fairly bright pickup in the neck position. So I really like this, but I also like P90 pickups. So I thought that I would see whether or not it would sound very nice if I put a P90 in the neck position and use the standard Telecaster pickup in the bridge position. So in the past, the way I make my version of a Telecaster, which I call a Telstar, is to use the thin line template so that it's hollowed out inside, and then I put a cap over the top. And the cap can be either quilted maple or flamed maple, and then stained and finished to make it nice and shiny. What I'm thinking of doing for this guitar is to use poplar, Burl poplar, and the template. So this is some wood that I got. The person who sent it to me has drawn a Stratocaster shape on it, but I'm not going to be using that shape. And I have a couple of pieces of book matched poplar burl. I don't know if you can see it. It looks really nice, and as well as having this burl, which you can see around here, the wood has some really nice texture to it. So when you stain it with a colour, and it only takes certain stains well, but when you stain it, the patterns in the wood really come out very nicely and give you some interesting patterns. You don't always get to find out exactly what they look like until you've made the guitar, but I think this one would be very nice, except it doesn't have very much burl, just an area around here. This would be very interesting. I could use this in a sort of a Telecaster type thing and possibly put a scratch plate over it. I tend to make guitars without scratch plates, but that's something that I could do. Another piece of wood that I have, which I think is potentially nicer, it has more burl to it, and I think this might be the one that I'll choose. I'm a little nervous about using it though, because there are some knots in the wood, and I don't really know what's going to happen to those, whether the center of the knot is going to pop out. But whatever you do, when you use poplar, it's quite a soft wood, and the burl can break down, and of course it has holes in it, and so this really has to be stabilized, and I stabilize it using epoxy, and then depending on how fancy I want to make the guitar, I'll either use epoxy and sawdust to fill in all the holes and the knots and the sort of the blemishes in the wood, or if you want it slightly more sparkly, you can add perloid colours to epoxy to give it a bit of sparkle. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. I think it's going to depend upon how I decide it's going to look when I've cut out the basic shape.